November 7th. And as usual, I'll open up with a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for life, for the strength. We thank you for allowing us to come and to meet and to try to do the county's business. Father, we pray for everybody that we're doing well. Pray for those that are in war. Pray for this whole United States, that we may understand that you are the one that we must depend on, and if we depend on you, everything will be okay. These and other blessings we ask, in the precious name of Jesus we pray. Amen. Amen. Before I go into the agenda, first of all, let me let each and every one introduce themselves. For the ones that are here, let's see who they are and who they represent. Virginia and Phil.
Virginia, Phil, Stephanie, Marvin, District 3.
Good evening, Bruce Gandy, I'm District 5, thank you.
Cynthia Fortune, voted in by the board.
Josh Bradley, District 1.
Canola Scott, Chair, appointed by the Chairman of the Board of Commissioners.
Lee Mitchell, District 2.
William Smith, District 4.
Before I ask for approval of the minutes, I want to let you know, for those that were at the commissioners meeting last night, how it turned out. Everything was approved except there was one, and there was one that had some conditions added to it. The Tanya Minish, the acre and a half, the half acre, both of those were approved. That I think that had to move to an acre and a half, and a condition was added that it couldn't be split. Okay. Okay, I got it.
Oh, sorry.
And the other one was turned down. The Barry and Mary German that had the 16.9 acres and wanted to split it. We voted 7-0 to approve. The commissioners voted 5-0 to deny. I can't give you a real reason as to why they denied it, but that is what it is, and I've come to understand that we're a recommending board, and that's what happened, and so be it. Just to be transparent, I did get a call from Mr. Chandler, who made the motion to deny, asked me if he could come to the meeting tonight. I told him it's a public meeting, open to the public. You want to come, come. And then he asked me, should he come? Well, I'm not the one to be asking, should you come? Well, he said, you think it'll be beneficial? And I may be wrong, but my answer to him was, no. We have a long agenda. I don't want to rehash something that we can't change. You know, you're welcome to come. But if you're asking my opinion, should you come? My answer is no. He said, I won't be there. So, that's just being transparent. That's what went on.
Yes, sir.
You know, so. Now, with that being said, I will ask for approval of the minutes for October 3rd, the regular business meeting, and the October 17th public hearing meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Kenneth.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Bruce. And we'll approve the minutes of October 3rd business meeting and October 17th public hearing. Any questions, discussion? Not, Stephanie?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
The minutes of October 3rd and October 17th have been approved. Okay, now we're going into new business discussion of zoning applications for November 21st public hearing. With that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Tracy.
Okay, first up will be Tim Davis with Tower Source LLC, applicant for property owner Paulette James. is requesting a conditional use to allow a 290-foot cell tower to be erected on the property. The property is located at 951 Hammond Williams Road in Danielsville on map 42, parcel 78 in District 2. And just wanted to let everybody know that all setbacks can be met. It'll be 357 feet from the property line, and it is in Cuba, but it will not create a breach. That's been verified by the property valuation.
Any questions or discussions on number one?
But always, Tracy, I always appreciate you doing the list of the things that we need to take into consideration. We mark possibly with a proposed change adversely influence living conditions in the neighborhood. Was there any more story to that? I'm trying to.
Well, I had just the light factor could be a possibility. I've had some calls concerning that.
Well, they're not that pretty a structure. But
Right, and there's another one in close proximity that puts off a very bright light.
Oh, I got you.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And that lighting is required by that.
Oh, yeah.
Any other discussions or questions on that one? Not, we'll move on.
All right, next up is Sharon Foster, applicant for her deceased mother, Hattie Seagrave, is requesting to rezone a 2-acre portion of her mother's estate from A1 to R1 to split off for inheritance purposes. The remaining 38.10 acres will stay in the A1 zone. Property is located at 3741 Moons Grove Church Road in Danielsville on map 28, parcel 106 in District 1. And I'll pull the site plan up for you. Oh, yes, sir. Kind of like a necktie.
Yeah.
Are good? I guess the first thing that jumps out to me was, or to ask the question is, with that many acres, why are they asking for R1 instead of?
It was promised out in her mother's will as 2 acres. So, and of course, we don't have the 2-acre AR, so the next one down is R1.
And this is the one that they can't move forward with the will until we controverted on, I remember. This is a school teacher.
Yes.
Yes.
That's correct.
Any other questions, comments on this one?
Okay, so this 2 acres, does it fit into that upper corner?
Let's see.
The 2 acres is gonna be cut out, go back up.
Okay.
On the large parcel, does it fit into the upper left? Maybe going up another one.
Okay.
Yeah, right there. See the farther north point up there, for that parcel, that big parcel?
Yes, sir.
Is that where the 2 acres fits in, is gonna be cut out?
I believe so. Yes,
Are you sure about that? 'Cause
sir. Let
the
me.
one I'm looking at says that portion is A2. They're asking for the A1 portion.
So it
So
borders
it's in that big area
Moons
down there.
All right, it borders Moons Grove, so.
No, that A2 is for this parcel here.
Yeah, the, 1.848. That where that, the A2 is for. That's not for this.
I think it's for that one. See this parcel?
Yeah, that
So that little
A1 is
one
all of
The
it.
flag.
For that little 1 point something. Okay.
So is that somebody else's acreage?
So the A1 is all that in yellow?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, sir.
Okay. The A2 is that little white area there?
Right, and this is completely different track, but.
Okay, all right.
So, can I
Just
ask,
interpret.
it's in a will, So, I know, is there any way that they can increase the acreage? I know it's in a will though,
Right.
there will be.
I think it's between some siblings and they're
Oh.
kind of.
I think he got 4 siblings, I think. She talked to me about a couple months ago
Mhm.
about it. And I told her the best thing to do is have to come see y'all
Right.
before she decides on it. It was in a will, and I think
One of the sisters was contesting it pretty strongly.
The will's still being probated at this point in time, though, and correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have to go through with a probated will, right?
Oh, you mean, no, you don't defeat zoning laws by writing a will.
I just want to make.
I have made a number of will clients angry over the years by telling them to go get a survey. I'm not going to write 2 acres.
Well, I'm sure she made a will before we changed the acreage, so.
I think his
I
will,
think she's tried to split it, and I may be wrong, because I've only heard it from the applicant, that she was trying to split it between several siblings and grandchildren.
Oh,
and
I think his will been made out, she made it out in 80 or.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been a pretty long
It's
standing.
been a good long time ago when she made the will out, I think, what I understood.
Well, if I understand everything correctly, that really has nothing to do with what we decide
Yes, sir.
as far as division of property.
So instead of an AR, we're talking about putting an R1 in this, what, I'm sorry, what is it, R1?
R1,
Right here.
They requested R1, not an AR. All right?
May I ask one quick question? What is the name of that subdivision down in the lower left of that map up there? Does anyone know what it's called?
The one night I don't bring much effort.
That's all right. It's not that salient.
I can get that to you tomorrow, Mr.
Well, that's all right.
Or send an email out.
It was Northwood Circle.
Oh, Northwood subdivision.
Okay.
Sorry. Northwood.
Any further question on this one? Well,
All right. Next up, we have Dave and Cindy Ford. And they're requesting to rezone their 10.94 acres from A1 to AR to allow a 4-acre split for Sun's home site. The property is located at 0 Highway 174 in Danielsville on map 49, parcel 9501 in District 4. And, so he lives, next door on a separate tract, and he's actually having to sell his son, the 4-acre portion, because there's other siblings and he can gift it to him. But the parcel is not in Couva, so there's no breach to worry about.
okay. Questions? Well,
Speedy, I can't keep up with you on the scroller here. Okay. Next up, we have Byron Sexton. And, he is requesting to rezone his 11.18 acres from A2 to AR to allow a 4.01 acre split with existing home to sell, and he will be retaining the remaining 7.17 acres to keep. The property is located at 6163 Highway 174 in Danielsville on map 61, parcel 63 in District 4. And Mr. Sexton has, let's see, to allow a 4-acre split with an existing home for sale. The remaining 7.17 acres will must go into AR due to the acreage size, so.
Yeah, both parcels have to be L.
Mm-hmm.
Questions, comments? Move on.
Okay. Next up is Larry and Joyce Phillips, and they are requesting to rezone a 15.5 acres from A1 to AR to allow 2 splits for a total of 3 tracts. Property is located at 898 East Commerce Road in Commerce on map 3, parcel 4 in District 1. So this parcel's interesting. It is split by Jackson County and Madison County. There's almost 25 acres on the Jackson County side, and Madison County has 15.5.
Yeah, that's the one I'm doing.
So he's wanting to split it 2 times for a total of 3 tracts. The dad's gonna live in 1 tract, and the son on one, and then a grandchild on the other. And those splits are gonna look like 2 4-acre tracts and a 7.5-acre tract. They are in Cuba, but their contract ends at the end of this year, and a plat won't be recorded until next year, so they won't be breaching the contract.
What does the property look like around it? I haven't finally looked at it.
I've got it pulled up.
There's ARs around it. There's ARs, RRs, A1s, and A2s.
Mm-hmm.
No R1s.
No,
Or one.
but this is going to
It's
AR.
going to AR, not RBM.
Yeah, I know. I just wondered if there's
When is the last time that those maps were updated? I mean, I know we've talked about this, and I mean, that's not necessarily something that, I'm not saying it's not useful, but I mean, I don't know that that's a tool that you
I
can
know.
necessarily.
You really can't. They have gotten severely neglected over the years. Just when new parcels have been made, the map does not always reflect that. So I try to, when I'm doing one, if I see corrections need to be made, I try to do those, but I can't catch all of it.
With that being said, and I agree with you, with that being said, that's all we got.
I mean, no, I'm just, just throwing it out there for what it's worth. I know that we're only as good as what the tools that we have at our disposal, but.
Right.
And with property valuation, there is on this backside, or the left of the paper, that's Jackson County, and there is some discrepancy where the county line falls. Apparently with our GSI mapping and their GSI mapping.
Yeah, it's, no county attorney wants to talk about the line.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's been fun.
Did she say the Jackson County line goes?
It's close to Jackson County.
Goes to
It's split, no, it is.
Split
Split
their
property. Right. 15 acres on Madison County side and 20-something acres on Jackson County side.
Yeah,
So
so,
we don't have anything to do with the Jackson County side.
I know, but if we, how they gonna do that? If we change it, does Jackson, they're gonna go to Jackson County to try to change it to?
They
Right.
can, yeah.
Right, they'd have to get it in both places.
Or, I was gonna say, because then it'll be AR or, and then, where is it now? It would match.
1 and 9 to 11, set.
Then they won't be able to do what they wanted to do. You know, I mean, it's one of those things. They'll have to figure out what the classifications are in each county that are appropriate for what they want to do and get them both.
And then when they build their home as well, which county's gonna get the tax?
You know, that's another one, but tax assessors have sort of figured that out. It's, as I have been, well, what I've been told is that pretty much just do it wherever the majority of the land is and figure that's gonna average out over all of the ones that head that way.
Okay, any other Further questions, discussions on this one? Number 6.
Okay, number 6, David Russell is requesting to rezone a 12.08 acre portion of the 65.46 acres from A1 to A2 for it to be split off to get the fund for his home site. The remaining 53.38 acres will stay in the A1 zone. The property is located at 1008 Wagner's Grave Church Road in Colbert on map 72, parcel 9 in District 5. And, what the tax map is. Mm-hmm. East, California on the east.
Does it show where you want it?
Everything is met, road frontage and all that good stuff.
Oh, right.
And this is his site plan, so yes, sir.
Discussion? Appears to be none. Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we have Lisa Bice, and the U silent in this name, is requesting to rezone a 4-acre portion of her 32.41 acres from A1 to AR to allow it to be split for her son's home site. The remaining 28.41 acres will stay in the A1 zone. Property is located at 2322 Holman Autry Road in Danielsville on map 42, parcel 18 in District 2. And what this is about here, Mrs. Bice does not live on this property. She lives in Millbrook subdivision, but she is renting 2 mobile homes out, and she's just wanting to rezone 4 acres to cut her son's home place out, and then the remaining 28.41 will stay in the A1 zone.
So, they're on me.
For you. She has 2 homes on the property right now that she's renting. So she's in code violation right now, or zone violation.
Technically, yes, because she doesn't live on the property.
Okay.
So in other words, 4 acres gonna be at the bottom of that track, what you got, right there, right?
Let's say. Yes, that's the right plan.
And an A1 zone. You can only rent 1 house. Also, there can only be one. Only way there.
Different department. Any questions on this one? All right.
All right. Next up is Christy Aliwine, and she's requesting to rezone a 5-acre portion of her 41.28 acres from A1 to AR to allow it to be split off to give to her son for a home site. The remaining 36.28 acres will stay in the A1 zone. Property is located at 284 Snow Farm Road in Hull on map 17, parcel 77 in District 1. This is the route. And
You know, this
Where's the
is
road frontage on this?
very little right up front on Snow Farm Road.
And this is taking all the road frontage?
let's see what's that. They were gonna access it through an easement, I
I think that's the road frontage right there.
think. Yeah,
Right here.
Okay, that's a road for you.
okay.
So we'd be creating a landlocked parcel.
Mhm.
So there'd have to be an easement attached to
You
the
see
rezone.
that, go back down, yeah, right there,
Right here?
yeah, that little triangular parcel is also, is that part, that's a separate parcel, right, even though it's owned by the same person?
No, this is all one parcel, this yellow.
Where's the road frontage on that? Can you put
It
one
is,
Cause on ours, it's not yellow, the triangle is not.
the triangle's not yellow?
No, so is that both one parcel?
So they got 7.9 acres.
Wait a minute.
I thought ours
You know
yellow
what?
goes
That's,
around.
Two parcels
I
owned
had
by
yours
the same person.
correctly, I'm sorry. I had these correct, I don't know what
Two
I'm
parcels.
I've got you.
I'm sorry, I made
So
it.
it's just that one highlighted.
So where that line is right there is,
Yeah, disregard, I apologize, I don't know why I went back and did that.
But it is, that bottom portion is 7.9 acres, and it is owned by the same Christie Ayla.
But that's not part of our rezone, right? We're not,
But we're creating a parcel with
Access.
no access, except that,
landlocked there.
right.
yeah.
So that one right there on Snow Road, it's got, what does it say? 81.35 feet.
That ain't enough for,
No.
Well, there's not enough road frontage, plus you can't very well landlock a piece of property in the back.
well, it's not on the back, it's, it can
Well,
be
where,
accessed from Snow Road. If I'm looking at it.
Tell me if I'm wrong, we can't legally make a landlocked parcel, but we also don't know if it has easement access off of the adjacent property that they also own, right?
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to figure out the parcels.
Well, I think
Yeah, so okay, so this,
Isn't that 7.9 acres still on Snow Road?
yeah,
So it has access, why are we?
yeah, that's what I was just looking at. So this is the parcel we're
The
doing.
back side of that property.
So,
She owns
Oh,
this
back
parcel.
here.
She owns
Because they're
that.
only cutting like this out, this one.
so,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we don't require site plans, we have one, but when we do, we don't normally make them conditions of the rezone. So,
The access to the parcel, it looks like it's coming
right,
right through the parcel that's created.
so she could, yeah,
So she can do an easement.
she could, yeah, so there would, I mean, if one of these were going to be sold, you would do an easement through the front one to the acreage at the rear.
But don't we have to have 150 feet of road frontage in order to create a new parcel?
Yeah, so every lot should have 150 feet, and this one doesn't.
No, it's only got 8.
Yeah.
What's the reason they're cutting down?
there's nothing.
But,
That ain't enough for the one that
Okay.
we have.
That's an interesting question,
but
so,
there's an asphalt drive there right now, so.
yeah.
It's not in the easement, it's in the chart.
So you are creating a new lot, a new lot has to have, that's right,
It's gotta have 150 foot.
that's right.
Is that something that we need to go back to this applicant and before the public hearing, at least advise them as to what we discuss here and, you know, if they want to do something different or?
Because they have plenty of road frontage, it's just, it would have to take some from that other parcel.
So the parcel's on.
The applicant needs to know that.
Correct.
You know.
It's an A1.
You have to redraw the line there to make it, okay. But
Yeah, she's not gonna be able to do it out of that parcel alone, but since she owns the other one, she could do a recombination and redivision to get what she needs to do.
Could we make it a condition of the rezone of this property? Well, no, it'd be a rezone.
It's got to rezone the other one as well, it's non-conforming.
Exactly, that's right, so, but this one's not gonna work.
That's why I suggest that we alert them that there's a problem with this, and, you know, hey, you need to do this, because
Let's this one.
if she comes, you know, we know right now that it will be denied unless some changes are made.
Well, I have a quick question here now. We have this, obviously they're using this asphalt drive that's on the next screen down. If you don't mind, Tracy.
Sure.
Or maybe next one, there you go. They're using the asphalt drive now, and that's only 80 feet. Now, I guess you're figuring if the whole parcel, it would have been okay. But the way they've drawn this thing, I mean, it's a legal driveway, but not the way it's drawn up here. Is that correct?
Well, it was almost
There's 100.
grandfathered in.
It's a lawfully
Right.
non-conforming lot, but if they do any changes, they have to bring it into conformity.
Right, exactly.
I said it right?
You said that exactly right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Let's bring that 150 feet in.
But fortunately for her, she owns the adjoining parcel, so she can do a recombination and a redivision and get what she needs to do. But not on this zoning application, because it's gonna require a rezone of the adjacent lot as well.
So I'd like to propose something to the board and for staff that is all right with y'all, kind of like the Dove situation. This may be a possible postponement so that they don't lose their $125 or now $250 deposit. See if we can put it on the following month,
Yeah, it
the
doesn't.
time to pass for them to be able to do it.
Absolutely, that's why I suggested that we you know,
Our ten.
we're not in the business of taking folks' money.
Yes. But we'll talk to her. I don't know if that'll be an option, but with that 4 acres, there's gonna have to be, the other parcel's gonna have to come into a rezone to allow it, because a portion of it would be taken out, big road front.
Okay.
Is there not something that we can be doing? I know we're short on staff, but to catch some of these things before they.
Are you asking for it done?
I'm just asking, I mean, I know, like, things slip through, I'm just wondering if there's
How's
something.
that cloning building for you? Are those cells growing?
Those are growing right now. Line. We try to catch everything we can. And to be honest and not point anything else, we look at it, we're trying to take so many in, and we're looking at January as well, not as an excuse. We come here and the eyes being put on it, the general conversation helps us catch more.
Good.
But we try.
I know, I'm not knocking y'all, I just didn't know if there was something we could be doing.
That's what we do.
All right.
More eyes on it, I guess.
Yeah.
Anything else on this one? Move on, Ms. President.
Okay. Take a minute there.
We'll get together on this one tomorrow after the department head meeting.
All right, next up, we have Alicia Anglin. She's requesting to rezone her 2.36 acres from A1 to R1 to allow the property line to be adjusted to take 0.21 of an acre from this parcel to add to the adjoining R1 property, which is map 36, parcel 39, to obtain ownership of a well. The property is located at 305 Langford Cary Road in Danielsville on map 36, parcel 39-03 in District 2. And her neighbor, Tony Winters, recently found out his well is on Alicia's property. And they just need to readjust that property line, like I say, 0.21 of an acre, to make that on his property. And it will, in this case, actually turn this lawfully non-conforming A1 2.36 acre tract of land into conformity if we do rezone R1.
Okay, will we be creating, now that's another road frontage ain't gonna end up, ain't it?
Now, there's enough on this one. Looks like this one's actually adding the road frontage to the one that has less right now, right? Yeah. But anyway, they both have enough, so there's 312, I'm just not counting that piece in the middle. There's 312 on the left side, and there's, 180 on the right side, if you add up number 1 and number 2.
So what is the winner's property zone as of right now?
R1.
All right. The winner's property is R1?
It's already R1.
Her 2.36 acres is R1?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I mean, it's none of my business really on this, but kind of going back as we unfold some of these type things, are the landowners aware of where their septic tank fields are, so we're not doing this again down the road?
I don't think you know until they bring it up.
And then some older properties don't even have it mapped with the state health department. Like we have to do now on an application for one, it has to be shown out where the lines are going, that gets filed. There's a lot that don't know until it fails. So hopefully it's all on.
Hopefully it's not mixed as well.
Well, before we get into this, and this kind of goes back to that, like, we had last month, you know, this is a A1, R1, comprehensive plan, agricultural, so we know that don't, A2, R1 doesn't fit in that category, but, you know, it's something to be thinking about.
Going to the next one, that's actually something that matters.
Oh.
Well, it all depends on who you talk to, if it matters.
I think the only difference with this one is that time you diminished one, it was not an R1. This one's already, so there's already an R1 there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not saying it should be,
Yeah.
okay, next one.
Okay, next up is Matt Catoo with Woodland Asset Management, applicant for the McEver Ayers Family Partnership, is requesting to rezone their 591.91 acres from A1 to A2/R3 to allow a golf course and a clubhouse to be constructed and operated on the property and for a residential development. The property is located at 0 Howard Road in Hull on map 18, parcel 39 in District 1. So,
Okay, is that next one got anything to do with 10 or 10 and 11?
yes, 11 has to do with a conditional use. In order to have a golf course and an A2 zone, it has to come with a conditional use.
Okay. So those are, you probably want to take those two together.
At the public hearing meeting, would be easier to do.
I would think so.
And this time, just when it says here on the proper ownership and applicant information, the McEver Ayers Family Partnership and then / David McEver, is that
He was the,
the point of contact?
point of contact.
The same thing with the MAC 2 down there for the woodland line.
Right, yes, sir. Our field area is very limited, and it wouldn't let me type all that, so I had to handwrite it.
So on this first rezone application, so I'll understand, he's requesting to rezone the 591 acres for a golf course and a clubhouse. Not necessarily a subdivision at this point.
No.
Just golf course, clubhouse.
And
No, it would be a subdivision.
And
It would be a
residential.
subdivision.
It's
Yeah.
They're wanting to rezone,
R3.
Yep.
R3
It's a
and
dual
A2.
rezone.
It's a dual rezone, the property going from A1 a portion to A2 a portion to R3.
There's no sewer, no water, nowhere around it.
There's water available and they're willing to put the infrastructure in.
5 miles away.
We've got it on,
Nearest hookup gonna be, cause Sanford is, first school, they quit down there.
Oh, that one.
come, go back down. Thank you, ma'am.
Mhm.
So, we have water on 106. They're willing to pay for the infrastructure to connect into 106. We have a 12-inch main running down.
There's enough water to control it though, with that many houses.
No, I mean, that's a good question, the IDBA, and they would have to present a letter of water availability when they come in for the preliminary plat. Right now, it's just the rezone, then we go to the preliminary and then the final plat. Right now, we're just looking at, is the land location appropriate for a subdivision and a golf course? Then, if we say yes to the golf course, and Mike, catch me if I'm wrong, please. If we say yes to the land use, then in their preliminary plat and their conversation with other departments in the county, they would have to come in, either put the infrastructure in, is what I would prefer. County not incur a cost, but that's just me, make them put the infrastructure in to tie it into the 12-inch main on, 106, and whether or not the water was available would come up at that point in time. Now, when they come before y'all for the rezone, and you'd like for them to go ahead and get that water assurity letter, I don't know if that's the right term, but
Yeah, water availability.
water availability letter before you move forward, thinking R3 is appropriate, the water usage, you could ask them to present that to y'all.
Yeah, as the IDA attorney, I also would encourage them, I have said this a few times, water availability letters should have expiration dates.
Yeah.
So, that's not necessary. I tell you what I'm wondering about here at the zoning stage is, I know we, unlike most, don't require a plat at this level, so, and most of the time, you're just talking about rezoning 4 acres out of 12 acres, and it's not that big a deal. This one, you're talking about a huge development with a lot of houses. How do you know where to, this isn't something that you can just say, we'll figure it out when they come in with plat. Do we even know how many acres they want, R3 versus A2?
They do have it drawn up.
Yeah, they got water.
Yeah, I'll get down to the site plan.
Yeah. I think it won't put 160 something houses.
165
3/4
houses
acres, 3/4 acres.
on one, and then on the other portion, do you have their driveway map?
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, they only have the one master
only have
entrance to
one
the clubhouse
in, yeah,
as well,
one in.
because they don't
That
have
was gonna
the
be my
frontage.
question.
Yeah, one in the White House,
Yeah. And I thought we had to have not
At least
just one.
one on two entrances.
Well, way that come out, one coming out on Sanford Road, the other, one entrance look like coming out on Hennepin Springs Road.
That's right, they do have frontage on both roads.
Where you see another,
So we can solve my problem by making
Oh.
the site
This is Hennepin
plan,
Springs Road.
yeah, but it's all
Condition
into
of the
the same
rezone.
main road.
Yeah.
if the site plan changes, then we can
That's
Go back
do
in.
an amendment.
How close is this to Clark County?
Probably less than a mile.
Get back.
Less than a mile.
How close is it to obtaining water from Clark County?
there's Clark County.
Well, yeah, but it depends on what Clark County is.
Two parcels, there's two parcels between
Clark County.
Clark County and one side of this.
Yeah, the Smoky Road there is in Clark County, Smoky Road.
Do you have a larger version of this? I mean, just,
And that's-
that's all they gave you?
Yes.
Okay, that ain't gonna work, they're gonna have to give us something.
Supposed to get
I
one.
have to put my glasses on.
Yeah, I'm taking mine, I'm generally a watchmaker if I take mine off, but I can't read this. We're gonna need to specify where the division is on this site plan between the A2 and the R3.
But the way we're set up right now is we wouldn't require them for the subdivision until the preliminary plat. Not at the rezone phase besides that.
Well, again, I know that we don't do that for Granite Effie's
Yeah.
first cousin once removed, but I think we probably ought to try to do this one right as best we can.
This is the first one in our county.
Yeah.
Anything like this is a
You
first.
know,
Maximum.
and way that, I know you barely can't see it, but on this back row of houses back here,
Mhm.
they can't build that close to the pipeline, cause the pipeline runs right down through the middle of that property.
There's actually two pipelines that run across it.
Yeah, but you can't build what, how much far from the pipeline, what's the distance, big as that?
Most of it's.
I know you can't
100
build
foot.
on top of it.
No. And it's 100-foot setback.
So all this is gonna be the golf course?
Will you go back up to
Yeah.
Yeah, all that been got was in the front.
Q Publix map?
Okay, yes.
So, I'm gonna talk about it the way they've got it in this, not the way they do it. Essentially, the pipeline is where they're wanting to cut it.
Yeah.
And the subdivision be the south side of the pipeline, and then the upper portion be the 18-hole golf course with a clubhouse at the front and a putting green over here. But it's coming right down from this line.
Good.
Coming down, we're not talking about a 65 or 100 acres, we're looking at close to 200 acre subdivision.
And that pipeline runs, I guess, on the site plan, we have all the lots put out. It runs right, like Kenneth was saying, it looks like it right backs up to that.
And then the other pipeline that comes in falls right through here.
Yeah, and that goes through one of the fairways.
Well, the fairways would all be on the upper side of the
Upper
first
side.
pipeline.
It's on the same, it's touching these.
So there's one that's virtually splits the property,
I see,
and then there's
that's right.
a second one that comes in and they actually run together.
Oh, that's the, okay.
Yes.
So the pipeline easement would be the dividing line between the R3 and the A2. Okay.
Can I point out Howard Road, isn't that what it's supplied under, I'm sorry?
Yeah, it's off of Helican Springs Road.
Howard Road is off Helican,
Yeah, Howard's off that College Spring.
but the entrance is gonna be off
They're
Howard?
pretty close to Sanford Road.
No, the, way they got it drawn up here, the main entrance gonna be off Sanford Road.
Okay,
Go back down to that yellow one, please.
Is that one?
No,
Oh, I apologize.
this is where they're proposing the entrance.
Okay.
That was right
and
here.
on Q Public, isn't that the address for the property, Sanford?
Yes, ma'am.
So why is it applied under Howard? Where's Howard Road? Oh, I see it now.
You see it now?
Yes, like Clark County line. So that's actually like a Clark County road name.
Part of,
That explains
goes
that.
into Clark County, that line comes right through here.
Is this area right in here not Clark County?
Everything.
In here? No? Okay.
Some of it's us, some of it's Clark County.
I'm just not familiar with that road, but thank you. I
Okay.
get it now.
Going back to Kenneth's point of
On the tax.
not being able to build pipelines back, built. That's, isn't that pretty much up to the developer as to what he can get in there or what he can't get in there. When we're looking at rezoning for property, and it's up to them whether they can get the number of houses they want or whatever in there. I mean, that's nothing we really should be concerned about.
Is that 100-foot setback a local zoning ordinance requirement, or is that's a state or federal requirement?
You mean from the pipeline?
I don't think it's state, I think it's federal.
Okay, but you don't think it's part of our zoning ordinance?
No, I know it's not, because I actually have a guy trying to cross the pipeline right now with a private, well,
Yeah.
running his water on one side of it to a house on the other.
Okay.
I've been having to do a lot with the pipeline.
I think something that would be helpful to talk to the applicant about before the hearing is whether this site plan is something they're ready to commit to, that we could make a condition of the rezone. I think if they were, that would be to their benefit. It would answer a lot of questions.
I'm sorry, I'm spitballing, not meaning to take it over. Would it be out of question to limit the sites during the rezone? Like they propose 165, could we hold them to 100? I don't know if we can do that.
Well, I mean, sure, you could, but, I don't know. I don't know if is there a reason to do that? What would
Until they can produce a water availability letter from the IDBA says, yes, we have water, you could tap into it, but it doesn't say how much water we could provide to you.
Mm-hmm.
So if the IDBA says, yeah, we could take on 100 houses, but we couldn't take on 165. Or Jackson EMC having, okay, now we've got to run a 3-phase power line where we only have 2.
You know,
The utilities, I think, for something of this size should be asked for.
Well, let me ask this question then. Normally, we have a business meeting, and normally we have a public hearing, and normally we vote as to recommend approval or denial. This sounds like to me that we're gonna need a lot more information than we have, or a lot more questions and concerns.
so that's what I was about to say.
I'm not sure we can do that at the public hearing. I'm not so sure we move that fast.
Well, again, my suggestion is for staff to work with them to normally, if you were doing this in most counties, all of these things you're asking would have been part of the rezoning application anyway, and those questions would have been answered. Given, something of this scale, I assume we're dealing with pretty sophisticated people with sophisticated consultants helping them. So they may have the answers to all these questions. We just don't have it submitted here, and that's why I was suggesting find out site plans, all these, if this site plan is something they're committing to, what do they have worked out, what do they not have worked out, and this, the more they're ready to present, the better off everyone is.
Oh, yeah.
But you're right, I mean, certainly the public hearing is no place to be brainstorming this stuff. It
Right.
needs to be done between them and staff to present to you then.
At this point, in our zoning ordinance, in the major subdivision, we don't require them to have it till the preliminary plat.
I know.
Is there?
Well, with something of this magnitude, we need to kind of skirt around that, I think.
Is it out of line for us to make them go ahead and start the preliminary plat information for the rezone? Or is that going to, in some way, cross the line with our ordinance?
It doesn't cross the line. So,
Okay.
if I am doing, and I feel sure they probably understand this and are willing to do it. If I am them, I want to come here with all of the things I can tell you that I can commit to, that you can make conditions of my rezone, so that you are reassured and will grant it.
They probably already have the answer to our questions,
Yeah.
but we only require them to give us what we got.
Exactly.
And they
So-
won't be forthcoming with it because it would add to the conditions of the rezone.
Sure, but if they don't want that, if they don't want to give it, then you know, that's just,
Affects the rezone.
yeah, I mean, again, rezone from one classification to another is a legislative decision that is generally going to be, the county's generally going to win those fights.
Yeah.
So they want to present all they can to induce you to grant it.
So in case they don't have these things, and they have to come back to us anyway, right? If we rezone this?
Or preliminary.
Well, not, y'all do, they go to the board of commissioners for preliminary plat. Are those come here?
Preliminary comes here, only the final goes.
Oh, the final goes there. Okay, gotcha.
So can those things be required as,
No.
no?
So
Okay.
this is another misconception I've found in the last couple of years. Your discretion is at the rezone stage. There's no discretion at the preliminary and final plat stage. It either meets the requirements in your subdivision regs, in which case they're entitled to an approval, or it is not, in which case you're entitled to deny. If you want to negotiate things and say, hey, I think this entrance would be better here, you know, these houses need to be moved back because of the pipeline, whatever, the rezone is the stage at which that can happen. I know Madison County is not used to doing it that way because you don't have ordinances that require it. But, you know, this is again, as Stephanie said, I think they have these things. It's just a matter of asking.
Well, and as you mentioned earlier, Counselor,
You don't think so?
We don't know. We don't know.
He probably run across that county without the subdivision in Gwinnett County, Bear County, and Jackson.
Oh, yeah, he knows it. I believe he knows.
Maybe they're not as
No doubt about that.
We get the money back.
Okay, fellas, y'all wanna share that with us?
No, it's, got to deal with the gentleman that's presenting it, some of his others, just personal knowledge, not part of the rezone.
Yeah. Just trying to figure out whether they do actually have it at this point or not. If this is their first time doing something like this, maybe they don't.
Well, according to Kenneth, it's not. He knows something we know, bro.
They, same development in Gwinnett County, Bear County, and Jackson County too, so.
Oh, yeah?
Same development.
So they know.
Okay.
but right now, we don't have a site plan that delineates what R3 is going to be.
Other than,
Other than the
I finally made out these tiny pixels that say plantation pipeline easements, and I guess that's it, best I can do.
And the colonial stuff.
So if they don't have what we want, is there a way we can tell them, ask them to come back?
Well, I don't know if at this stage that we're asking them for
That's someone else.
anything. I think that what the council is saying, and I agree with him,
Okay.
that send staff back
Okay.
and let them have this conversation with them and get as much information as they can.
And you're right that we cannot require it, so if they refuse, then that's simply something that you and the board of commissioners are gonna take into consideration when you make your decision.
Okay, so essentially the pipeline is the delineation between R3.
I'm guessing that that's
A2.
looks to be, yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's a question that can be asked and we'll know
Exactly.
absolutely. It is or it's not.
Yeah, if they did this in Gwinnett County, I feel sure they presented a lot more than this at the rezone stage.
Okay, any other discussion on this one? Obviously, we're not going to decide on this tonight, but I think we're at the point that we're asking staff to have a conversation and get us more information. So that when we do come with a public hearing, we can do whatever we need to do, postpone it.
Keep it in mind that all staff can do is ask. If they refuse, he can't force it.
Right, you can't force you to do anything. You comfortable with that, Chris?
Oh, yes, sir. Very much so.
All right.
I might not be able to get Eskimo to buy ice, but he might buy water.
Okay, all right. All right, Tracy, let's move on to number 12.
Okay. Number 12 is Alex B. Allen is requesting to rezone a 6-acre portion of his 178.63 acres from A1 to AR to allow it to be split to sell to adjoining property owner, which is 29 parcel 8701 for desired privacy buffer. The remaining 172.63 acres will stay in the A1 zone. Property is located at 0 Jamison Road in Hull on map 29, parcel 87 in District 3. And, I'll pull up this information. Okay, and, the 6-acre split will, I have a note that it will have road frontage off Stone Stewart Road. And the property's not in Cuba, so it is actually not gonna breach a contract. And that's the proposed site plan.
Can you go back, power line going across the middle of it?
Okay.
Can you tell me where the 6 acres will be cut out of on the large, on the parent parcel?
All right, it's,
Is it like,
he said that his home is here on parcel 88, and he said it's to the far east from Mr. Allen's house, so, when, let's see. Right up here, Stone Stewart.
Oh, got the appropriate road frontage.
But I mean, his house is there.
must be an easement? But it looks to me like it fronts Stone Stewart, that's got to be roughly right.
I think that point matches that,
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
Very odd-shaped lot.
Yeah.
Any further questions on this one?
Well, I'm trying to find out where the, his driveway is.
There's a road,
Yeah, I know this is.
that's a road coming down through here, and here's Stone Stewart Road. There's a road coming down through here.
But he's been to this point
We're
right
coming
here.
off Jamerson Road. He's wanting the buffer to buffer himself from the,
Is this a road?
that piece of property, go down the.
Okay, well, that's what
And
it's,
must have a road. See where it says 87-01? Is that's where he's wanting to buffer the big parcels from that parcel?
That's what I thought. I was trying to figure out that thing.
He said he's gonna,
Yeah, that's right. The site plan shows the adjoining parcel of the 8701 on the southwest side.
Are we good with that?
well, Tracy, you said his home is at 6 acres, right?
yes.
Okay, where his driveway goes to the back of another parcel. Is there a drive there or something?
Old Jameson Road comes right down there to it, and I think kind of veers back up north of that, where that little flag lot there is. It looks like it must have an easement coming down to it.
Mm-hmm.
You get what she's saying, Tracy?
I do, I'm sorry.
Well, with your point, or what are you saying doesn't fit?
No,
Are you saying something doesn't fit?
no, I'm just saying, how is he got an easement or something to, he's given 6 acres in the front off of the stone.
Stone Stewart Road, so he's giving this 6 acres probably.
Yeah.
Right here.
Well,
Okay.
that really has nothing to do with it.
Right.
Yeah, the 6 acres is right here.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with that over there.
Oh,
So,
yeah, okay.
right here,
Mhm.
out of all of this. So everybody has enough road frontage.
Okay.
And everybody, yeah, there's no easement.
More questions? Comment? 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is David and Tracy Dove, and they are requesting to rezone their 5.66 acres from AR to A2 to combine with their adjoining property, 89 parcel 2, for a total of 16.80 acres for tax purposes. Property is located at 3984 Wildcat Bridge Road in Royston on map 89, parcel 3 in District 4. And these were the two that were postponed from last month. They changed it, they didn't want to do the R1, they decided to combine the property. And so the following is in conjunction with this, is to rezone their 11.14 acres from A1 to A2 to combine with their adjoining property, 89 parcel 3 for a total of 16.80 acres for tax purposes. Located.
It up as one motion.
Right, it's 440 Wildcat Bridge Road in Royston, on map 89, parcel 2 in District 4.
Going from AR to A2. So, let's see that now. No, backwards. Any question on this one?
This is the property you purchased.
All right,
Here.
first 14.
Okay, I read that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, is that all our rezone requests? Any questions or comments on any of these that, we may have missed coming this far?
I just kind of have a general question, and I don't want to bring up what happened last night, but I wanted to get some clarification on, because we have quite a few going to AR, splitting off for family members, and I don't even know what question to ask. We're not supposed to be approving on intent, right? Only if it meets our zoning regulations.
Right. Mhm.
Outside the zoning regulations, the only other considerations come from moving forward and what it wants, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, comp plan is one of the it's one of the factors you consider when you're making the zoning decision. So, yeah, I mean, but nothing, I don't think anything was done last night that, created a non-conforming lot or otherwise, violated some black and white line. If there was, tell me.
Then what?
Didn't tell me.
Oh. No, I again, I don't want to bring it up. I'm just wondering why, did we do something, were we looking at something wrong with the one that got denied? I guess is my question. Were we looking at something that they saw that we didn't?
What was discussed on that one was, the fact that it was sort of, it was large agricultural parcels both to the north and the south. So you may look down the road and see small parcels, but they were, I think the fear was that this would be inconsistent with the general pattern of large agricultural parcels on the north and south sides.
I have a different question. What I heard last night was, I don't want to debate this because I basically told Mr. Chandler that time, because I don't want to get in a great big debate about it. But I kept hearing that the difference between this one and this one is this one over here, this guy has a vested interest, and this one over here doesn't necessarily have a vested interest because he needs to live here. I have a hard time figuring out the two. You know, if I own some land, you know, I'm just as invested as you are. I don't understand that. Can you clarify that for me? Or if everything meets, are we to take our thoughts and say, oh no, I don't like that because in the future this might happen. So we're not working on the future. We're working on what we got in front of us.
Well, no, I mean, the future is exactly what you're working on. But what you're not working on is trying to predict what individuals will do in the future.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, I'm sorry, I worded it wrong.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
We can't predict, or we're not supposed to predict.
Right, right. You can't predict individual intentions unless they're intentions that you can turn into legally binding conditions. Some you can, some you can't. Family relationships, you can't. So, you cannot restrict people from selling their land to someone they're not related to. You cannot make people stay married or get unmarried or any of these things.
So let me ask this question. I know you said there's a lot of land north of it, around surrounding it was agriculture, but the one that got turned down was turned down because his ass was split up 2 tracts, AR. That's agriculture in 4 acres. Why would it be turned down for?
Yeah, I'm not going to,
I know it's something other, but I know.
I'm not here as an advocate.
Yeah.
I'm just trying, I was just telling you what I heard last night.
I know that.
I told, as my now deceased mentor used to say, I've now told you more than I know.
And I think it's hard for us to word it because we don't want to get into what happened last night,
Yeah.
but we just want to make sure that we're making our decisions on the right reasons.
Well, the fact we voted 7 to no, and they
Yeah.
put 5 to, you know, the exact opposite. I mean,
For us
that
not to
gives us
have
pause to
questions,
reflect.
yeah, but for us not to reflect on that would be wrong.
And they have AR around it.
Yeah, I think it just kind of threw us for a loop.
I gotta go back and look at that more
It
closely.
was.
And I want to make sure I'm making the right decision, or the right recommendation, so.
I told you more than I know.
Well, I think you get more by it, so anyway. Is that all?
I think you gave me some answers.
Is that all said?
Yes, thank you.
All right, let's go to number 2. Consider proposed dog kennel amendments. Christopher, I guess that's you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh. I am a troll.
I talked to several, I guess you call subject matter experts on this. Shagrag, Fox Hunting Club's master of hounds, who was in here last month for a rezone with his wife. Now her name just left me. An individual that came and spoke on the kennel moratorium the first time, very good, or very educated woman from the University of Georgia, as well as the, and I mispronounce this, I say Valhalla, but I think they pronounce it differently, a kennel in Madison County that works to train dogs for our military and the Border Patrol. They just opened an office here in Danielsville. They were the closest experts outside of GDA, which they're only going to say exactly what's in the rules anyway. There was so much that needed to go in for every single zone. And in the conversation, they felt it was something that should be taken up in the entire rewrite. The way we have it now, with kennels being conditional use in the A1 and the A2, and other brainstorming members, I tried to talk to at large, and then my own personal knowledge as well from having kennels. The best choice that I recommended was with the idea of 1 dog per acre for a conditional use to be accepted. So a kennel being in an A2 zone, 10 acres, with a 10-dog maximum with our current setbacks. And then as a condition, or as an added condition with the conditional use, that they have to register with the state. This helps in bringing compliance of the kennel in, not just on the county level, but on the state level, force them to register and have a twice-a-year inspection, much like a poultry farm has to have an inspection. And with the poultry farm in mind, going to the A1 intense agriculture or a bigger kennel, if you have the minimum 25 acres to come in and ask for the conditional use, using the idea of 1 dog per acre, 25 dogs operating. This is adult dogs, not including the juvenile, the puppies, anything under 6 months, and double the setbacks as well, similar to a poultry farm, where not only the smell, but the noise, dog barking, fans running on a poultry farm, or the hog parlor, the same instance. It gives us more of a buffer. They have to meet this on their parcel when they come in with the site plan for the conditional use. That was the consensus moving forward to get us to the rewrite that would put a cap on how many dogs we're talking about. The one we probably all remember is the 200 plus puppy mill in consideration. This would take out that puppy mill mentality that we were worried about coming into the county. And then also the one over here on the Franklin County line that came in with the dog rescue proposal, where he wanted 30 plus dogs in addition to 10 or 12 personal dogs. We could have capped him at 25, might have helped please the neighbors, but also, since he was looking at that 25, he needed to have an A1 so he could meet those setbacks. And with the number of dogs, increasing the setbacks helps with the noise. We still have the option at this point in time, until we get further in, whether or not we want to incorporate in the conditional use vegetative buffer. Plant cypress trees, something to help buffer that noise or wind, the smell, when they come in. The other questions that were coming up in comparison with Oconee County is they limit the dogs all the way, how many dogs you can have on a parcel in ownership. But then the conversations that we had were, okay, now we're looking outside of the conditional use for kennels, which is what the moratorium was for. Now we're looking at an entire regulatory limitation similar to urban agriculture, where if you're in a residential zone, you can only have 3 goats or 6 chickens, nothing but crows. To go into that amount of depth would take every zone into consideration. And we were just looking at the conditional use kennels. So I think the subject can continue to evolve in the rewrite as the concern comes up with the county, especially with residential parcels popping up and subdivisions, things of that nature. The other thing that we took into consideration was we don't have animal control right now except for vicious animals. So if we put such tight ordinance on what a kennel is, all we were going to cause was less enforcement. So by keeping it still broad, but putting caps on it and increasing our setbacks, those are things we can go out, we can enforce, we can measure. Can't necessarily measure at this point in time the noise that's coming off of. So this was that happy medium to get us through to that rewrite. And that's the reason why in the A1 also we went further with the setbacks, because of the dogs and the questions we get from the neighbors. They're going to bark all the time. I understand cool night, low barometric pressure, a dog's going to carry, further than during a busy time during the day when buses are running and such. Y'all have any questions?
Okay, we got questions for Christopher?
I'm glad you brought that guy up about his personal dog. So what we're proposing, that's including your personal dog?
No, just in the registered kennel. If we went past the registered kennel, then we'd be looking at adding another section onto the county ordinance, like urban agriculture, where we're starting to limit the animals, and that goes outside the scope of the moratorium, just being for kennels.
So, because, you know, I was looking at other ordinance or other, counties and stuff like that, where they limited, because they even said mentally, personal dogs, you mentally can't take care of more than 8 mentally, and even sanitary wise. So that's what I'm saying, so someone can come in and say, okay, you're limiting to this, but my personal dogs, I'm gonna have 20 and something. So that's why I said we can't put something in there to kind of.
Not under the kennel moratorium, that'd be a rewrite across the zoning. For each one, how many dogs could you have in an A1 that are personal working dogs for herding cattle versus somebody in a duplex in an R2 hoarding chihuahuas. I'm trying to think of a small dog that could fit in there and have a bunch of. That's a whole separate subject in the conditional use kennels. And then, for safety reasons, not working outside of the moratorium on kennels, I was wanting to make sure I didn't cross the line going on into other zones. We just had it for the conditional.
So what I'm hearing you say, Christopher, I
Yes,
think
sir.
is that right now we're dealing with kennels.
Mhm.
Later on, we can actually go back and look at it and deal with personal.
Yes, sir.
How many personal are? We can't tie the two together.
Yes, sir.
You can't say, okay, if you have a kennel, you can have only this many personal. You can't do that.
Not at this point in time. But it is something that, I call it my hot pocket list instead of a hot topic list. The things, when we do get our third party, I'd like for them to look at directly. So it's on there now.
Like on veterinary clinics, you know, it wasn't too long ago, we allowed, I think, conditional use for that veterinary clinic right there at Moon Grove, and
Mm-hmm.
that was less than 10 acres.
Mm-hmm.
If they, what I'm trying to say is it limited to where we put them at if they don't have dogs, or just?
The veterinary clinics and animal shelters get tied in with kennels because of their overnight stays.
Yeah.
And when that came in, it was still the 5 acres.
5 acres.
And we started crossing into animal rights and medical treatment as well, similar to, we're only don't allow this hospital to have 200 beds, and an emergency happens and there's 300. I think there's different considerations for veterinary clinics, and that's the reason we tried to focus in on kennels. But if the veterinary clinic is housing or grooming, when they come forward, we have to address how many dogs are going to house for an extended amount of time as well. They might see 200 dogs in a week and house them, but they might not have more than 25 dogs a night.
That's why I wondered why that was in there, but like that, so.
Yes, sir.
Mine was just doing the kennel, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have a question on enforcement.
Yes, sir.
With the Department of Agriculture going out twice a year to inspect,
Yes, sir.
would they know our requirements on the limitations of the number of dogs? And if they see something over that, report it to you, or is it gonna be up to you to monitor those or inspect those, or?
Right now,
on a complaint or whatever?
Yes. Right now, we have an extremely good relationship with the Georgia Department of Agriculture, which licenses kennels. Part of the licensing procedure is that they have to meet county regulations, and when they submit for their licensing, they have to submit the requirements of the county. So with still having it as a conditional use, when we do take a kennel in for consideration, they take that paperwork to them, essentially our minutes, and they see where we state in our minutes, we are allowing a kennel with a maximum of 25 dogs to be housed on this property with set setbacks. That's in there. And at the same time, one inspector, our current inspector is Morgan Floyd, who just happens to also be a Madison County citizen, whether or not she looks back every time and catches every dog, every time. When y'all went out to the puppy mill, some of us saw 170-something dogs, some of us saw 80-some-odd puppies in one of their barns and everything. It's up to them to be able to catch every single dog. But right now, because of our good relationship, when she does go out, she notifies us, or notifies me, and I try to go along with her, just to, one, back her up, and two, to see that, or to see if there's any county codes being crossed at the same time. And the same goes with EPD, because when we look at kennels and we're looking at mortality and runoff, septic, how are they dealing with the fecal matter? If it's getting in the waters of the state, I've got to notify EPD. It wouldn't be a county violation at that point. So having that open rapport and having more hands in helps with the enforcement.
To further Lee's point, I think you're saying that, yes, they do, but no, they don't have to.
They have to. Let me rephrase that. They are supposed to. Okay. I think that's the safe way.
There's no penalty if they don't.
Not with the state. It would be us. It wouldn't cause them to fall out of violation with the state. It'd be at the local level, and then if we chose to pursue it, and they fail to come into compliance, then the state could pull their license.
So any other kennels that have already been approved do not have to appear? MOAS has no problem?
Local, or lawfully non-conforming, like the lots that we see, they were approved on their condition. They met the requirements at that point in time. A shade rating in particular with over $200.
Yeah.
They're lawfully non-conforming to any standards that we may or may not adopt because they were pre-existing before them. And at the same time, they have a better septic system than most municipalities over there.
All right, anything else? Now, were you asking us to adopt this or recommend adoption of this?
Recommend adoption of that at the
You want
public
to do that
hearing.
tonight at public hearing?
Public hearing. We have to discuss it and then vote on it at the public hearing.
You got a text amendment to the ordinance? Yeah. Yeah. So you won't be able, it hasn't been advertised, you can't do it next meeting. Well, unless, do you have 15 days?
No.
No, we don't. No, we don't. So
No.
we could vote on it in December
Right.
and
And
advertise.
then, yeah, and BOC in January.
That gives y'all any time to punch holes in it. Constructive criticism helps me a lot, or if y'all see something outside of like the personal dogs in the zoning, we can always look at an addition there too and discuss it again at the December, business meeting. But this was the Dutch boy was fingering the dam at this point.
Right.
To feed that Dutch boy, make the fastest finger we can.
Thank you so much. So we got this to consider in
Yes, sir.
December. We're voting on that at the December public hearing meeting. Number 3 is discuss the AR agricultural residential zone. This has been a touchy subject. It went from 2 acres to 4 acres. There's some folks that are unhappy with that. I think there's some folks on this board that question that.
Yep.
So tonight, we put it on the agenda to discuss 2 acres versus 4 acres. Do we want to recommend going back? Do we want to stay where we're at? What do we want to recommend to the Board of Commissioners?
There was an option available for the kennel amendment. We can vote on it at the business meeting in December.
That's right.
So you do a public hearing at that business meeting on that text amendment?
It's at the end of the business.
But it's got to be advertised, and we're going to do it for public.
Yeah, but that'll give you enough time to do the advertisement if you do it then.
And then that'll allow us to get it to the VOC before the end of the moratorium. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
I apologize.
Now, agricultural residential, your thoughts, discussion. I guess I'll start, since somebody got to start. I was not at the meeting that this was approved, that didn't mean anything, but I did speak at the public hearing of the commissioners meeting, that I was not happy with going from 2 acres to 4 acres, and I have not changed my mind, because I think that we as a county need to take in consideration that there are the haves and the have-nots. There are a bunch of folks that have plenty, and it doesn't matter to them. There are others that have a minimum, and they love, and most of them we get is for family members to break off. Most of them, a lot of people don't want the larger tracts. Plus, going from 4 acres from 2 to 4, you're taking more ag land. If you cut off 2, you've got 2 still in ag land. You know, so I think it's basically I just think for all the people involved that we're better off with 2 acres rather than 4. My opinion on it.
I know.
Now, everybody join in.
I know if we, keep it at 4, we're gonna have more and more R1s, requests for R1s. And then we discuss on where it's appropriate with a land use map or not. I think we need to drop it back, because that way we can stay in the land use map, and still, because just like Fernando said, there's a lot of folks out there that ain't got but 6 acres. If they wanna split it, they can't, because they'd have to, they just couldn't split it to give to the family member or something if it's already non-conforming AR.
I only have 1.7, what about my 4 children?
You live in Oconee County.
Bart.
You're hard enough.
They gonna be living with you.
Well, I was the lone sheep on the boat, and I felt like Canola said, that, I just saw that it was gonna be a conflict with people, and it ended up being that we created more non-conforming. So I think we should have stayed with the 2 acres.
Well, you know, I supported the 4 acres, and, because I like the idea of trying to maintain the rural and agricultural nature of the county. However, after working this thing for a few months, I think I'm beginning to see that the two acre split will create a whole lot less headaches. And I think like Kenneth was saying, that, you know, we're hitting a lot of positions that make it very uncomfortable. And that requirement of the whole 4 acres is just for a home site for a child. You know, well.
And with the millennials, they really don't want a lot of land. Their thinking is totally different from our thinking when we were growing up, or whatever. They want to, more convenience. They don't want to go out there and mow and take care of 4 acres. They just want their little portion.
Right, so 3/4
I know.
More importantly for me, why I wanted to bring it back up is I like to talk to people and ask people, and I have not met one person that has told me that they like the 4 acres because they want to be able to cut off for their family. That's the majority of what it is. A lot of ag owners that I've talked to.
Are you going to place a zoning condition on these rezones that they can't sell that property to anybody other than their children? And the children have to own it forever?
That goes back.
Or are you going to rely on that unenforceable representation and then treat the guy who tells you that he's going to sell it differently than the guy who says he's not, but could very well do so tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that goes back to predicting. Yeah.
Well, I'll come out with it. I mean, hey, on the other side of it, I think this is a perfect example, no matter where we're at on it. This points to that we got work to do still before us. And as Bruce kind of shared, possibly did we do something in haste? And here we are, turn around and do it. Are we just going to go with the flow? I mean, at some point, we've got to rework the whole. I'm in agreement. I think there should be zones, personally, that would be 1 acre, 2 acre. I don't see R1, Kenneth, as being a bad thing. We need to utilize. Since I have been here, like you said, the way you presented that, you present R1 as it's a negative. It's not.
It's not, but.
We're not utilizing the tool that we have. We're making an emotional decision, which it shouldn't be. This is about land use and accomplishing the goals overarching. And I think, either which way, we're a recommending body. I don't get hurt when a vote goes and then ask for the Rubik's Cube of what happens before me. I'm going to do the best of my ability here with what it is that I have, and what we have is antiquated. Yeah. And so 2, 4, 10, 12, whatever it is, this is 1994, and here we are doing a text amendment in January reacting to something. We need to get on the front side of it. So
It's up and down, go either way with it, and I know we're gonna have, when to get R1 come up.
Which is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, but when we say it's R1, but it's in an agricultural zone is what I'm, in the comprehensive map, that's when it throws something up there that,
Well, I live by a budget. I may want a 4-wheel drive, F-250 pickup truck, but if I don't have the money, I don't get it. I may want this on a particular area, but is that what's best for that area? Yeah. That's where difficult decisions kind of have to be made. And I don't, once again, I'm not arguing for whatever. That's fine. Canolis, I know this is a drum that you're really passionate about, and that's the reason it's back before us again. Yeah. But please take that same passion and enthusiasm and put behind something that your grandchildren can live by the way that this was put in 1994. We've got to move forward and quit quibbling over back, and let's look forward a little bit on this.
Well, I hear what you're saying about moving forward, but if we got a problem, we don't ignore it and just keep driving on. We've got the forward consider. Okay, we got it in there. Let's just drive on. No, there's some obstacles out there that we're running against that we need to talk about, as we're doing tonight. And if you make a mistake, don't be afraid to come back and say, hey, we were wrong about this. I don't think this was the best thing for everybody in the county. And when I look at this, I look at everybody. I look at the guy, like the guy had the 200 acres left. I look at him, but I also look at the guy that's got the 10 acres. We got to treat them all fairly. To me, the 4-acre thing takes the fairness out of it. If you're one of the haves, you're in great shape. You're one of the have-nots, you're not. If you're one of those parents that's got a bunch of land, I don't want to give my children 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 acres. I want to give them enough to live and be comfortable. We're saying that, no, you can't do that. You're saying, no, you can't sell your land. You can't. I mean, we won't put dictations on everything that we can do with our property. And I think that's totally wrong.
I would say, how can we come to a happy medium? Because I know the county, and some people want to keep agriculture, which is good, because we need agriculture. But if I bought a farm 50 years ago, and my intent was to keep that farm agricultural, I was gonna farm until the day I die. But my child came back and said, Daddy or Mom, I can't afford any housing or land out there. I wanna come home and live with you, or you are getting older. You can't take care of this big parcel of land anymore. So I don't wanna move in with you. I just want a little section over here. I don't want to take care of big piece of land. So that's why I said, how can we come to a happy medium that those people, even though they have big agricultural farms, they don't want to, they want to split it off to the people that want to farm, and I know they need a lot of land for cattle and stuff like that. We got to somehow come to a happy medium and not discount the person that wants to give something to their children. So I don't know how we're gonna come to that.
You got a comment, Chris?
Is it all right?
Yeah, go ahead.
When I first wrote AR with the help of many others, when it first came in, it was 2 acres, but incorporating in the pre-existing RRs, trying not to make non-conforming lots. And we ran with that for a majority of the moratorium. And then we got, it seems about the same time when the request was made to increase the AR when the comp plan came out, because the majority of the area is considered a rural conservation area, and it's on pages 68 and 69 of the comp plan, or either slide 68 and 69. It's 2 pages, sorry, in the comp plan, and it stated, and I can't speak to who gave me the directive or if this is where they were pulling it from, but it states that the rural or the ag conservation, the big green areas. I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact one off the top of my head. Was supposed to be single-family large parcels according to the comp plan. Hindsight being 2020, I wonder if that factored into the request to look at it being larger. And then for a happy medium, I've had an idea. I don't have a vote. I just wanted to put it out there for y'all, possibly considering if we do reduce it, I have no opinion, no vote one way or the other, to 3 acres instead of 4, because then that would be double in R1. And then if somebody did want to split off, then we could look at using R1 not as a negative, but as an opening for it. And on the 3 acres, we wouldn't have to change the AR's land use. There'd still be enough land to incorporate AR into, and it's between 2 and 4. So maybe it truly is the happy medium. I don't know. I just wanted to throw that out there and kind of relate the history of when we started the moratorium, and it was 2. The comp plan came into it, and then the request was made to put it before everybody for more, because of that definition of the character area, and the would and should was put in there. But just food for thought, not trying to stir the pot.
What have been the advantages of changing it from 2 to 4? Or what will be advantages from changing it from 2 to 4?
From 4 back to 2, or less.
No, she says what will be,
I mean,
what has been,
why
or
was
will
it
be.
changed? What advantages did you see by adding 2 acres?
To AR originally, I didn't ask. I'll be straight up with that. AR is designed to be the buffer between intense agriculture and R1 to R2s, so that somebody coming in, and the reason with the name change also from rural residential to ag residential was that you understood you are still in an ag zone. It wasn't necessarily a parcel size.
No, I get the AR,
Yeah.
the RR to
And then
AR.
I don't know if it's an advantage or freedom. In any of the residential zones, you're limited by our urban agriculture clause in the zoning book. 3 goats, 6 chickens, no hogs, anything of that nature. And, I tried to expand it a little more so that if you did have more acreage, go outside the minimum, say you had an 8-acre AR. Mom, as a matter of fact, that's good, mom and dad have an 8-acre AR, that they could, have more than 3 goats to turn out around the pond, that sort of thing, trying to give people a little more freedom than what the constraints were of the urban agriculture. Because we've had several code violations, I can't say names or anything because it's the case, but where they tried to do more than the urban agriculture on just 2 acres of lawfully non-conforming AR, and they couldn't meet their setbacks for their hog pens or chicken pens, which is 50 foot from any property line. Now, they could attach it straight to the house if they wanted to, but they didn't want the hogs right next to the house for some reason.
I wouldn't think so.
Lee, I support, I'm listening. I support 4 acres, and I'll tell you why. Zoning is based on use. We've heard that over and over, not parcel size. AR, as defined in our ordinance, is the same thing as A2, with the exception that it's for personal use. You can't do it commercially. So essentially, the things that you can put on A2, livestock, garden, whatever, you can put on an AR, but it has to be for personal use. To me, if you take 2 acres and you put a house on it and you carve out enough yard and driveway and things to accommodate your home, you don't have enough acreage to put a couple of cows on it, some goats, whatever else you want to put on it for personal use. That's why I feel like you need more acreage to accommodate the uses that you've established for that zone. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So, I understand you, but what is so bad about someone next to you? I mean, I don't see what's so bad about that.
There's nothing bad about it. I don't understand.
Look, well, I mean, if somebody has a big cattle farm, and I've seen it in other states and other things, that may have a big farm next door and then a small place here. I mean, I don't see what is such a, okay, if you use your land to do that, I want to use my land to do this. So, I mean, what is so bad about that?
There's nothing
I know,
bad about it.
but it seems like that's what it's being considered
Now,
bad because I want 2
I'm
acres.
trying to stick strictly to use because that's been driven home with us. The uses that we have pinned on AR, now if we want to change things, change the rules, that's fine. But the things that we allow in AR, then you've got to be able to afford the property owner the space to do that, to carry out those, to do those uses. I just don't feel like 2 acres is enough to have agricultural activity.
Well, that's what I'm saying, they don't want agriculture, they want 2 little acres next to their parents. That's what I'm saying, but you're saying because you're there.
You may not want to practice agriculture, but the next person that gets that property might want to practice agriculture.
But that's predicting the future, you know. We don't know if they're gonna even sell that.
Eventually it's gonna happen.
Well, you can't say that.
We
Those
can't,
people might die there.
okay.
We can't predict that.
We maybe the answer to the thing is to increase our what?
No, that's a fresh idea. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've thought about that.
Yeah.
Making
Okay.
R1 2 acres.
You know, make R1 2 acres. Then you don't have, you don't have to be a ag person or whatever. But I think Stephanie went down and asked a question about, how many farmers we got in this county and how many residential folk we got in the county. We're doing it just backwards. We're letting the least amount of people dictate what happens with the absolute most amount of people. Ag is actually in the minority in this county. If you look at it.
991 parcels or over 40 acres in the county. To me, and that's just my opinion, you have to have at least, to be a true farmer, at 40 acres.
How many
And that's
parcels do
stretching
you
it.
have on your farm?
I'm sorry, what?
The fallacy in what you just said, you did it by parcel. My particular farm is made up of multiple parcels, so they may not show up,
No,
in
and
that, so that's where you can,
Yes,
we can find a number to say whatever we
You
want
can.
to on that. So
I was just putting it
number
out
does
there
not
that,
correlate to the number of people associated with agriculture. I think you look probably at the gate value or whatever that is, and I'm not, probably can speak to that as far as what it is that agriculture, the product of the county as a whole, would agriculture not be the number one dollar revenue generator of Madison County? Aren't we in the top 5 for the state? I want to say.
I don't know,
yes.
Mr. I don't know, generator of
Due to poultry houses.
I think that's where my.
Poultry house is third, fifth in hay production, and we're number 8 in, beef production.
I think that's where me wanting to listen to those large farmers is that they would like somebody to take over their farm one day. And that's why they would like to place their children on the property. From hearing from one, and I won't name any names, is that if my child can't afford to buy 4 acres, if they don't move here, that next generation is probably not gonna take over the farm. And I'll be honest, and y'all know I voted for the 2. I've gone back and forth. I can argue both sides. I just wanted to bring it back into discussion to make sure we're giving
See, that just
all
like
the facts out there.
the one we coming up with the big R3s now. That land has been farmland ever since I know it. There hadn't been nothing much on it. Now here we bring up consideration to making the R3 out of it. But it's been farmland for years. So the big farmlands now, 500, 600 acres, you don't see that anymore.
Well, I think though, Ken, if you look at it, once again, Canola's brought it up, it's 2 parcels from Clark County. You know what, as far as when you look at the land use, once again, going back to it, that's where we can anticipate growth and increased density. And that's the reason that we try to utilize the comp plan to project and to look ahead, not to force it, but to allow that, to be able to have the infrastructure to be able to put that density in that area. So no, I agree with you 100%. It's Clark County is where that parcel is.
and that,
Well, it's 2 parcels, is what I'm saying. It's proximity to Clark County.
it's almost in Clark County.
Yeah.
The other thing you have to look at is, and I know we're not talking about that particular golf course, but you're talking about poultry farming and all that being a generator, tax purposes. When you talk about something like that, which sell like $600,000 and $700,000 houses, there's going to be tax generators that most of them are retired. They don't make your schools overcrowded, because most of them are retired folks. That's the thing you got to look at too. That's something that Madison County has never had before, or never even even looked at.
Was Kingston Greens not a?
No, Kingston Greens is
Was there a golf course next to it?
Yeah, but that's a drop in the bucket compared to what you're talking about down here.
Golf course is right away from Instagram.
I mean, you know, that's, yes, you're correct.
Once again, I don't have a dog in the fight. I think it projects forward the need for what it is that we need to continue to have, which is dialogue and everybody coming together to look at what it is that we have. So, we all have our drums that we, you know, that are important to us and the circles that we run in, and that's the beautiful part, is being able to come together. Whatever on this, to me, this points to the need for a third party to rewrite what it is that we have before us.
As staff, I lean towards that as well, from what we get from the public to the emotional strings that get pulled on us when it's a child versus the land use and what's better for all. We all do the best we can, but this third party, if we did hold off on a decision, I forget how we said it, but like the back and forth with the change, I'd love to get their input. You know, somebody that this is what they do for a living, how they help a county plan and grow appropriately. I wish they were here now for this conversation to give us their input, what they've seen, you know, in multiple other ventures and how it's played out over time. I'd like to see it. I know like Ross with Oconee County, when they did that, they had the happy medium of keeping, you know, large parcel ag property and then still having the dense residential.
Yeah, but they didn't do it with zoning. Exactly.
I get nervous about the third party, because what if he tells us something, you know, what if you are against what he says, or we're against, or what if he tells us we're all idiots and comes up with something different? Are we gonna fight him on that? Or the company, or whatever it is?
They can put all the work in and PMZ and the DOC not like it.
Yeah.
It's been a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
If you can't be taught anything, then don't waste the money.
Yes.
Well, you
I'm
know,
sorry, what?
If you can't be taught anything, don't waste the money.
Yeah.
I just kind of keep coming back to the idea of, I get a feeling that this is, there's something kind of wrong with the way we're doing it now. Because just over the past months, as we've been trying to work through this thing, I keep getting the feeling that, an R1, and drop it in the middle of an agricultural area, we can't do that. I mean, well, if there's nothing wrong with an R1, then so it's right in the middle of an agricultural area. I mean, it's like, and when you tell a person who owns property in the United States, if they can't do what they want to with their property, you gotta be really good, solid on that. I just don't know if the third person.
I hear what you're saying. I don't think there's anything wrong on the surface or right now with dropping an R1 in a conservation area, or 2, or 3. But I think we've got to have enough foresight to understand that if you start doing that, before you know it, you're going to have a community's character area change. And the comp plan has identified the character areas. So I think it's incumbent upon us to try to maintain those character areas as the citizens have set up in the comp plan. So that's where I'm hung up with it. Is you know, it's kind of like it's like if there's nothing wrong with granting a small business zone out in Harris or whatever, and then what are you going to tell the next guy when he wants a business zone? And then another, and then before you know it, you've changed the character.
Well, but for example, if someone wants to cut off something from, one out in the agriculture area, and they have 4 acres they can cut off, and you do that, and then all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of 4 acres coming up. And that changes the atmosphere, but the atmosphere is people that can afford 4 acres and they can have a horse and all the rest of that sort of stuff on their land, which is lovely. But not everybody,
I think 2 acres can do, 4 acres can do what you just said on the 2 acres also. I mean, if you've got a bunch of, 4 acres is not considered a large parcel, so if you've got a bunch of 4 acres that show up, it could do the same thing.
And I don't know where the magic number 2 comes from. I mean, what about those that want an acre and a half, or an acre, or 3? Or, you know, where do you draw the line? Why 2? Why 4?
I don't know.
Why 4? I mean, you know, I think you gotta have reason other than just plucking a number.
I'm gonna have to think about what Chris said too about the 3. Okay, then you can split. I mean, whether you go to bars, you know, I mean, it's like,
Okay, but go back to what I said about the R2, R1. Make it 2. Now, you can't have the animals and all that, our folks don't even want, they don't want a pig or chicken, whatever. They don't want that. They just want a place that they can come and live beside their parents. You know, so if the restrictions on AR, you know, they're not on R1, but R1 parcels are not that big. So, you know, the answer may be,
But are we gonna run into the same problem? Well, it's agriculture, we can't put our.
that goes back to what I say is, we're not in the business of predicting the future. I still say that.
What if we
Even though my
added
attorney disagrees.
zoning classifications? I don't know that it would help, but I mean, what if we had AR1, AR2, AR3? Something to look at with different parcel sizes.
Not a bad idea.
I think that's what Oconee does.
You can have an AR and an AR3.
what's the difference in their case between the AR and AR?
I'm not sure. AR3 means 3 acres.
There's no Oconee County, he knows about Oconee County. What's the difference between AR1 and AR3?
Or an AR is an acre.
Well,
The number for them represents the acreage for that parcel. Where we use it just to delineate a difference from an A1 to an A2 or an R1 to an R2. Other counties use the number for the minimum acres.
Well,
Not all, don't look at some counties and be like B4, so they have to have 4 acres. It might just mean B4 is highway frontage business, you know, but for Oconee County, it's the minimum acres. Jackson said that thing.
In Athens, it could mean it's got sewer.
Yeah.
I mean, the number could
well, okay, maybe I'm listening. It doesn't matter what we name the acres, it's where it goes.
Yes, ma'am.
That's our problem, is where it goes. And that's what we're having a problem with. We just put a number on an acreage and said you had to have this to be in, but you can't go in this area.
I think we need to look at it all ways, like raising the acres from R1 up to something like Stephanie said, A1, A2, AR1, AR2, or something like that. We need to look at that and go that route. That way we can put a 2 acre tract in AR2. And that way.
That is a conversation that's coming
That
up.
needs to be had.
Having an AR1 and an AR2, and adding that additional, that's another question.
We may not have to have an AR1 where it'd be 1 acre tract, cause that way, then limited what you can put on the AR2. Then the AR would be,
Following like our A1 and our A2, the AR1 would be the more intense land use, and then the AR2 like an A2, a less intensive ag use that may still follow under urban agriculture instead of having its own ag limitations like A1, A2, and AR right now. We had an AR2 and it fell underneath urban agriculture, but you still understand you're in an ag area versus putting the residential in an ag area instead on the outskirts of a municipality or in a subdivision.
Well, I think that we are at a point that there's a lot of good ideas have been brought forward, but we're not ready to, in my opinion, ready to recommend anything. I think we need to have more of this discussion and then try to put together some kind of recommendation. It may be something we hadn't even talked about tonight. It may be what Stephanie's talking about. You know, it may be increasing the R1 zone, you know. We're a recommending body, so we can recommend whatever, and they can take it or throw it out, throw it away.
Change R1 to AR2 and keep R2, R3.
So what I would suggest is that our next business meeting, we have more of this discussion. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong or right, or I'm out in
That'd give us something.
left field.
I think that would give us something to think about over the next month in this meeting, think about what Stephanie brought up and what you brought up. Is some do AR1s or 2s of how to set the minimum acres in R1s, and that way we can talk about it and go from there.
The board like for staff to, at the summer business.
I saw you raise your hand a little bit ago. Come on up and you gave us some great ideas us before. Come on up and tell us what you want us to hear after listening to this discussion.
Thank you very much. I'm remembering a couple things. One of which was Mr. Dennis Moon, I believe, came in here into the commission meeting about a year and a half ago. He very succinctly said, whatever you do, please don't put a subdivision next to my chicken houses. And I remember 40 years ago when I was living in Oconee County, and they had subdivisions going in next to chicken houses. There was these 4x8 plywood signs all over the west end of Oconee County, where I was living, said, attention new home buyers, there are 17 chicken houses in this area. They don't exist, the chicken houses don't exist anymore because Oconee County let people cram their little houses in next to the chicken houses, and they ran the chicken houses out. Put a bunch of little houses in, and they're not agriculture anymore. AR, it was mentioned at the commission meeting 6 months ago, means you know you're buying into agriculture, so you can't start a lawsuit about the guy with the stinky chicken houses next door because you're in agriculture, you bought into agriculture. I think that was part of the intent of naming that. And if we're trying to protect the character areas, we're trying to protect agriculture. I mean, people wanted agriculture as, you know, kind of the theme of the county. That's something that we need to respect, and we need to say, no, we really don't want a bunch of little Chucky Jam single wide trailers out there in agricultural land. That's not what we want. And what I'm really curious about, I don't know if anybody knows, the comp plan, the comprehensive use plan, got a lot of input from a lot of county people, but does that represent like a vote, a fair vote of what the county feels like, or is that a couple dozen or a couple of hundred people in the whole county who had strong opinions, and that's all we heard? So I can't tell whether or not the comp plan is what the county wants. Like Chairman was saying, what do the people want? Or is it just something that's a good idea, but the people really want to be able to just move everybody in? A year and a half ago, I thought about was the analogy of a school bus, or better yet, a lifeboat. School bus is coming down the road, and there's one seat left on it, and all kids are required to sit down on the school bus. And there's two kids that need to come on board. Does the bus driver say, yeah, just go back there and stand up? Is that allowed? Is that legal? Does that make sense? Is that safe? The lifeboat is full of people, full. At its capacity, and there's 3 more people floating in the water. We just take them on and then drown everybody when the lifeboat flips. Where is Madison County going to say, we have to slow down, we can't just keep bringing people in, we don't have enough water for everybody. You know, that's the golf course, where's all that sewage gonna go? Where's the water gonna come from? Where's all the garbage gonna go? Schools, we can't just keep building schools and schools and schools. My school taxes went way up, I don't even have kids. Never have, never will. Where is it going, where are we going to say, we can't just put another kid on the school bus, we can't just put another person in the lifeboat, we can't just put another little house out there in the country and waste and squander everything we've got. And I don't know the answers to any of these questions. But those are some of the thoughts that I've had in my head and been listening to this. And 2 acres, 1.5, 3, I don't know, but do we allow just a bunch of little parcels into the agricultural lands and let the lands go away? Or are the people really saying, we want it to be agriculture, so we need to respect that, that we need to try to guide people, say, please put your small parcels down in the place where we have small parcels. Kind of what I've been hearing from the back of the room.
Right, thank you for your opinion.
Yeah.
That is one shiny penny, right?
All right, can we put that on our agenda for December to further this discussion and, end that for tonight and move on to our next one? Discussing requiring professional site plan prepared by a licensed surveyor for all zoning applications.
I think this kind of got taken out of context for me, and I may not have explained it properly. I brought a couple of examples, or one example from last month. I don't want to have to require anybody to spend thousands on a professional survey just to get turned down. Sorry, I especially if they don't know if they're gonna get turned down or not. I would never want to put that on people. But what I would like to see is a to-scale drawing of at least the boundary line to the nearest foot. If you look at this one from last month from Braxton Lake, they just they just drew a line for 5 acres. I don't have how long that is. This is what I have to base my decision on. I don't want to have to ask them the questions on the day that I'm voting. I want time to be able to think about it with the correct information, and I don't know if we even require anything. I started looking back through some old ones. Most people give us a survey, or there's only a few that come with this. I don't know what we can do to stop that. I don't want to require them to spend money, but I need a little bit more information. I need to know if you, and this one's not a good example, but I need to know if you meet setback lines. I need to know how far that property.
Possibly know any of that without a survey.
A to-scale drawing. I mean, if they would have at least given me how far that measurement is.
Measure how you want to go out there with a wheel.
Keep up with tools. Yeah. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be close to scale. I mean, I looked at a couple other counties. A lot of them do require a survey. Some of them don't.
The Tracy tells us that they need to set that.
Sorry, what?
Our definition for site plan versus a sketch allows for a plat, blueprint, drafting paper, or suitable paper to be drawn to scale of 1 inch to 100 feet. And it lists a whole lot of other requirements that it's going to be time consuming for the applicant, but it's not going to cost them a survey.
No. I don't want to have to require a survey.
That's how we identify site plan in here. So I'm just wondering, is it inappropriate to just ask for a site plan?
So
That's to scale.
our site plans are not to scale as of right now. Are we requiring something that we're not getting?
Do we require a sketch or a site plan?
Just a site plan.
Just a site plan, it can be a hand-drawn sketch.
To scale.
Yeah, and that's the reason why, like Leg, he drew it on his plat because it was a scale drawing, and then he did a approximation. And like a lot of Travis Leg cutting out a 5-acre section, I'm not saying he broke out a ruler to draw that line. I don't know from ASCAP.
Yeah.
But when they come to us with this, and it's a scale with a sketch in the scale, it starts getting hard.
Yeah.
To tell them, go back with a certified ruler.
Yeah.
And
If
put it
it's
in.
not drawn by a licensed surveyor, how do you know their approximations and scaling is worth what's written on?
That puts the onus on our staff then to be able to determine what is and what's not without.
Yeah.
Also, we're not surveyors.
Correct.
not my job to go out and get the information. I'm supposed to make a decision off the information I'm given.
I don't have a problem with the plan myself, but I understand the sensitivity about causing people to spend money, but it's their venture. I mean, there's a cost with wanting to do things.
And having the staff to go through it at the pace we're at, we are understaffed. And next year, we've allotted money for a planner and a zoning administrator, a zoning clerk to assist our zoning administrator is where my train of thought was. I'm so sorry, Mr. Tracy.
No, it's
I didn't mean that in a negative way, but to help us go into more detail, like you were talking about, trying to catch everything.
Mm-hmm.
3 rezones a day, prepping the 15 from the month before y'all's meeting, and that month we were taking in 60. Rezones, which is a minimum of 2 a day, coming in and explaining the whole process and taking the application. I know it just comes across as paperwork, but it can be quite overwhelming when we're zoning staff and building inspection. So when we have that dedicated staff, whatever rules we put in place, kind of like putting conditions on it, how are we going to enforce it? We've got this great thing, but we've only got an hour and a half to talk to the person in an interview process, maybe 2 to 3 hours to process the whole thing and to make sure we catch every little single thing. So we do have a scale drawing, going back and double checking. We just don't have the manpower, to be honest, with the flow that we have right now.
Is there anything between this and an actual survey?
That is a survey.
That is a survey.
Well, that is a survey, but
A line drawn by hand on survey.
Like I said, I don't think we're gonna we haven't come across a lot of them. Maybe it's something we just kind of monitor and see if it becomes a problem. Most of them we get people, if there's a survey, they either get one or they have a plat they've gotten from the clerk.
Well, a little more historical perspective, I'm actually seeing a lot more actual surveys submitted with rezones than ever before. And why that is, I guess I shouldn't speculate. Personally, I wouldn't want to come see you people if I had all my ducks in a row.
Yeah. Because we don't have our ducks in a row. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say that. You said that.
And then
My ducks are all over.
there are some like Ms.
Yes, sir.
Abrams saying they use the Q public.
Well, so Q Public offers a scale tool, and you can basically draw out what you propose, and if you bring it to a full, close, it'll actually tell you how many acres is in that scale drawing that you did. So you just go right on top of the Q Public and use the aerial if you want to give you an idea if you're going to separate off a piece. I don't want to go as far as this barn, draw the line here and then close it, and then it will tell you the acreage that you've enclosed. That right there should be enough without somebody having to go spend money. And it's a tool
That's approximate, because
it is approximate.
Public is very.
That's correct. It's not a survey,
And most people don't.
but it's pretty doggone
Yeah,
close to
nobody knows how it works.
give you a better idea of how many feet each line is without somebody having to do a survey.
But it's getting the person to go and do it. Some people don't even know how to use that.
The historic fact,
But
3 years, we did just recently have somebody last month that put that together, day 1, day 2, for the possible 2 splits. He went in there and
It's
used it
super
as the
easy.
first one.
It's so easy to use.
But can that be a step, once they come in, and staff looks at it, says, hey, you need to go over here. They have this tool that will make it better. I mean, is that something that we can point them in the right direction? I wouldn't have any idea if I walked in there, what are y'all talking about? But if the staff directed me to go there and explain to me what we need, in order to approve or disapprove this. And, I mean, I'm kinda like Lee, you know, I don't wanna cost them any money, but I don't mind costing them a few more footsteps.
If I can, I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep my mouth shut. On number 2, Christopher got up and very succinctly explained what the limitations are now and why he's going to wait for the consultants, the full code rewrite to address the bulk of that. We've spent a lot of time on 3 and 4. And there was one mention of why don't we wait for the consultant, but that got hammered right over. Is there a reason that we're trying to do this ourselves rather than wait for the expert?
Because we've been asked to. We didn't
All of
we
them
didn't
say
come up with
one
this
thing,
agenda.
they say discuss. We're not
We've been
making a
asked to.
decision, it's our
Well,
job to
you know,
discuss things.
If I tell you my stomach hurts, I'm limited on my appetite for your discussion on my diagnosis and treatment. I'd rather talk to the doctor.
I'm sorry you feel like we're wasting your time.
I think you're wasting your own time. I think you're trying to reinvent wheels that other people out there already have.
And I think I admitted that this was a little premature, but we discussed it and it's over. I don't understand the problem, but
That's
Guess he's ready to go
not a
home.
problem, but we were asked to do this.
Okay, then you answered my question.
We were asked to do this. We didn't just come up with it. Just like the next one, we're asked to do. And I don't really understand why we're asked to do, but we work at the discretion of the commission. If they ask us to talk about something or to give them a recommendation, then I think that's what we're bound to do.
Yeah, I just say one.
You know, and I realize we've been here a long time tonight. And we get paid 10 cents an hour probably to do it, but that's part of our job as we volunteered to take on this thing. You know, I'm sorry for wasting somebody's time, but that's just the way it is.
Can I say something for number 4?
Sure.
I just want to say, but this is all good, and I know we want something better for us, but I think unless we are going to help those people when they come in that office and tell them to go to another place to do something, because a lot of people don't know, aren't tech savvy, or they don't know what to do. That's why they draw these lines. Unless we're going to be willing to sit down and show them what they need to do, I don't think we're going to get anything further than what we just got. And I know it's a good idea and we want more information, but I think this is about all we're going to be able to get out of some people. It's going to be just a task for them.
Okay? Anything else on number 4? We'll move on to number 5. Discuss the structure of the Planning and Zoning Commission Board. As most of you remember, this has been brought up before. Do we want to go from, we want to stay at 7 members? Do we want to go to 5 members? Do we want to go to 5 members at a term? How do we want to do? Well, my question is, it broke? If it's broke, why are we trying to fix it? And it's really not our decision to do it anyway. It's theirs. But this was put on the agenda, and I think Chris can probably tell us more about why it's on the agenda for discussion.
I can answer why. It's come up in the conversation, I think it was like 18 months ago, when it was brought up, restructuring the P&Z board, and they tabled it, and now they're looking at everything that was unfinished in the 2023 year, and this is one of the items they put on the list. I think it's mainly cleaning up the docket of everything that was pre-existing. I may be wrong. I don't want to speculate on what our elected officials have running through their minds, but it was asked of me to put it on our board to look at going from 5 to 7 to 5, and then I just know from sidebar conversations that the idea of having 3 kind of mirroring like the board of assessors was also put in there, but it was pretty well shot down. But just so y'all know, there was a range of 3 to 7 put out. They wanted me to put the 7 to 5 before y'all for consideration and what y'all thought of it.
Let me say this, and I'm making cut it short.
Yes,
I have an opinion. Leave it alone until the rewrite. Then, Board of Commissioners, you make your decision as to what you want to do. I think that goes back to what our attorney was saying about the other 3.
I'm still,
Leave it alone.
why does it keep coming up? What's the reason? I don't understand the reason.
Don't know.
I've never,
I'm trying to read anybody else's mind.
and not that it really matters, I've never understood how it got to where it is today. I know that it used to be a 5-member board, 1 for each district. And then 2 positions were added along the way. Don't know the reasons for that. And I'm not saying it needs to go back, but I've never understood how it transitioned into that in the first place.
So that's what we need questions about. There was some reason why they went to 7.
Well, I think I've heard you say many times, I think you've got the best answer to that. When you said that you need difference of opinion.
Oh, diversity.
Go ahead.
Well, that's the reason I see. I don't know why they went to 7, but I was looking at other counties. Other counties got 12, some got 8, some got 3, some got 5. I say, what's the best? We can't go by other counties. But to me, this is for the citizens of Madison County. And you always, to have a good representation, you always need diversity. You need different points of view, like we've been coming up, like we've been discussing. I mean, you guys have different, each one of us have a different outlook of what comes before us. And when you put all those puzzle pieces together, somehow it makes a better, you can see different viewpoints of view and different people's opinions, or different, I may not see what you see, and you may not see what I see, but if I'm up here and we're discussing it, somehow, oh yeah, now I see it. Now I see what you're talking about. So that's what I say. You gotta have diversity. You can't have a certain group of people like, she made a point of view one time when we were sitting up here. She said she never looked at it, because you're a farmer, you never looked at it from a residential point of view. So I say you need diversity. You need farmers, you need residents, you need different points of view up here.
Old tired folks.
Yeah.
Mm.
Different backgrounds, different fibers.
But anyway, now, Mr. Canolis, you go back a little further than I do, but I'm looking, even back to the 1994 bylaws of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The appointments were a little different, but it was still 7. Was it 5 at some point when y'all first started it?
When I was part of the first comprehensive plan thing.
Right.
And, you know, I'm getting old, so I can't remember way back that far. but I can't remember when it was back.
Okay.
And another thing, I was just gonna add, and not saying anything, but when I am sitting on this board and I'm appointed by someone, I kind of get a little teeny liability to that person. And the way they, so that's why I said, that's why it's good for diversity. I'm not saying anybody up here does, but I'm just saying, you sometimes have a little loyalty to a person when they appoint you.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
I think I enjoyed everyone on there.
Last time-
Learned from everybody.
Last time, we're gonna go home, I guess. Virginia, you had something to say?
I just think that, for everyone to be fairly represented, I look at it just like my board of commissioners. Each district's represented, and each person, each representation has a vote. And that's, as far as diversity, the person that represents that district should be from that district. That should create diversity within itself.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like she said, she's a farmer.
No, I get that completely.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that if the person that's selected to, be on the planning and zoning for that district, it should already automatically be diverse if they're from that district.
But,
Okay, all right.
okay, we don't.
Okay. Now, the question I want to ask is, what do you think about my recommendation? Just leave it alone until the third party comes in.
Absolutely.
Listen to the third party, and then they that are supposed to make the decision decide. And they decide how they're gonna do it.
Can I ask about the third party?
Sure.
Is this someone totally out of our district, like out of our county, that's coming?
We just opened, RFQs.
Okay.
Monday or?
Mhm.
It was Monday?
Yesterday.
We just opened them yesterday, so county staff nor our county attorney have had a chance to look at them all. All I know is that we had 3. I know one's out of state, possibly another, and one's in state.
But all 3 are large firms. We're talking about, the point is to hire a firm that does this all day, every day, on a nationwide basis.
Not trying to piggyback on that term, but somebody that's got diversity where they have seen municipalities, cities, like bigger cities, just not like our incorporated municipalities. Other counties, both ag and fast growth. So they've got an idea, just not about Madison County, but the factors that are coming in on us that should be taken into zoning consideration. It's in the works, and I don't mean to push that off, but we haven't done anything.
Well, no, it was
practically.
said last night that, the hope, I mean, not a guarantee, but the hope is to, have maybe a couple of commissioners, staff, me, look at these and have a recommendation ready for the, second Board of Commissioners meeting in November.
They just haven't got passed to us since yesterday.
Right.
Yeah, I do know the price range.
And all.
They range from, 140 to 183.
Something like
Somewhere,
that,
I'd say 140 to 180,
yeah.
give or take, some taxpayer dollars.
Well, somebody may have a different idea than I do. My idea is to postpone it until the rewrite. Somebody else have another idea?
I say we do that on every one of those that we just talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that I don't want to discuss it next time, but to use the word professional, let's allow a professional to teach us instead of sitting here reactionary working on something.
Okay. You guys tell me, am I to present to the Board of Commissioners that all of these things need to be set aside and wait until the rewrite? And then address them?
We can take it up as a vote at the public hearing meeting.
I would say, we recommend.
I was gonna have to do, does this need, these 4 things need to come forward in a public hearing?
Oh, no, public hearings are only required for final zoning decisions. I don't know what your charge was. I mean, that was actually kind of, you did answer my question when you said apparently somebody told you they wanted this board to discuss this.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know the 5 and 7 number was asked for consideration and a recommendation.
Well, I was asked by, I know 2 of the commissioners to come up with a recommendation. Okay? That's my recommendation. Leave it alone until the rewrite.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you want to, I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, my perspective would be it's going to take a long time to do a comprehensive revision of our land use ordinances. If there are things that come up that are absolutely pressing that need to be addressed before that's done, that's fine. But it seems to me, and I apologize if I said it too harshly, but we're having a lot of philosophical discussion tonight about things that are not emergencies.
The only thing that, from Sherman's perspective, that I see is that really needs to be resolved within not a year and a half or 2 years from now is the 4-acre, 2-acre strip. I think that one needs to, at some point, needs a recommendation to leave it at 4, leave it alone, go to 2, go to 3, go to something else. All the rest of it, I think, can wait until the rewrite.
I think that can read well.
I know. I understand. If I was just sitting in your shoes, and I would think the same thing. But from this chair, I say just the opposite.
I appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, are we required to give the Board of Commissioners a recommendation on that? Like, are they expecting us to come forward with the recommendation?
Well, that was, we brought that to the table.
Okay.
That we needed to go back to them, make a recommendation to them. We brought that to the table. They brought everything else to the table except that one. So that's why I'm saying that one, you know, that there's folks here that are passionate about it. I'm one of them. That I think that we need to come up with some kind of recommendation. And it may be something we hadn't even talked about. That's why I wanted to discuss it again in our next meeting. But I'm just one person, man. Y'all tell me what y'all want.
As staff, and the professional and everything, I'm in agreement for whatever it counts for. But as staff, having that asked by the POC to put it on the agenda, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say it might be something that they wanted a recommendation on. I could be wrong. I'm trying to read between the lines.
Yeah, I don't know so Mr. Canollis just told me that 2 commissioners asked him, so that's not a vote
No.
of a directive. So.
Right.
Where I had the chairman dictate to me to put the 7 to 5
Okay.
on there, so it came from the chairman down to put it on this month's agenda.
So we need to make a recommendation for 7 or 5, right?
No, I don't agree with it. We need to make a recommendation as to how we'll move forward. And my recommendation was to delay it, to leave it alone, to them. And then they can decide if they want to make it from 5 to 7, then we put it back in their court. I personally am not willing to make that recommendation to say we go from 5 to 7. I say just leave it alone until we get everything resolved, and then let them make the decision.
It's not your decision, is it?
It's our decision to recommend. It's our job to recommend.
I could recommend 5, 7, or postponement. Maybe like that, approved with conditions, 5, 7, postponement. Wait until the
And I'm the one that's got to protect them, so I don't mind telling them. I think you need to postpone it.
They haven't given us enough information. I mean, why? I kept asking why. Why, there was some reason why it went to 7, or it's been 7
It's
for a long
always
time.
been, it's always
It's always
been
been 7, so that's what I'm saying, why do they wanna go to 5? Give us a reason, not because it was brought up. There's some reason why they want to.
And for the, not Stanley, yeah, for the other 6 that were appointed either by the chairman or a VOC member, I would recommend reaching directly out to your district. Or the VOC member that represents the district that you're appointed for. Because I'm not privy to.
And I'm at a loss on
You know what?
what our recommendations are, 'cause
We'll take care of it. We'll take care of the end.
Real quick,
we kind of.
real quick,
Not making recommendations right now.
can I get this board to agree, particularly on the 5 to 7, that we recommend to the board that we leave it as is until the rewrite is done. Can I get an agreement on that?
Would you like a motion or something?
I think to make it legal, yes, I guess we do that.
I make a motion that we table it. Is that what you're asking?
We recommend to the Board of
Okay,
Commissioners.
We're recommending to the Board of Commissioners that the items 1 through,
No,
I mean 2 through.
No, just
Oh, just this?
just the board.
Okay.
We're
just
taking
the
one at a
board.
time.
Okay.
Yeah.
We make a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners that we come back to, item number, is it 4?
No, it's last.
I wouldn't even use the item number.
Oh, we won't
Not
use
to
it.
put
Oh,
words in your
to-
mouth, but maybe to clean it
to
up,
go
recommend a
from-
postponement.
To make a decision on how the board should be structured, either 4 or 5, 5 or 7.
Postpone that until the
Rewrite.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's our,
Can I get a second?
I'll say it.
Okay.
Who made the motion?
Since
Since-
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. I had
Lincoln
talked to
made a
you.
motion. Bruce second.
we make
Bruce
a
second.
recommendation to the board that we table this or come back to this
Okay.
at a later time, or after the rewrite.
Correct. William? Votes on you.
No.
Oh, you going back?
Are you going back?
Oh,
I
okay.
like that.
All right, Stephanie, we'll go back. We'll go left to right then.
I won't change.
Somebody wanted me to go to that side, so we'll go to that side. Stephanie?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
No.
Okay, we got a 5 to 2.
No.
4 to 3 decision. That I recommend to the Board of Commissioners that this be postponed until after the rewrite. Now, going back to the other 3, how do you want to handle those?
With the first one, I know you asked for it to be put on the December business meeting
For a rediscussion,
for the rediscussion.
so we won't deal with that. I'll put my papers up. What's the next one? What was the other one?
Thinking about AR. AR.
The AR and then,
248.
Yeah.
Site plan.
site plan.
Agricultural residential.
Site plan.
So you were recommending that we put it off until the rewrite?
Not the AR.
I recommended we put everything until the rewrite except for the AR, but, we need to take them one at a time.
Oh.
Stephanie, you brought up about what's your thoughts on that?
On the site plan,
Yes.
I think I'll make a motion that we wait for the third party.
This one, take a motion on this one, if y'all, since it's discussion that was brought up by y'all.
Yeah.
No, just.
We
just let y'all
discussed
know.
it, we can discuss it further as it comes up.
Okay.
No need to.
So we don't need to do anything on that one. All right, the next one was the AR.
Mhm.
What do you wanna do about that one?
I think we still need to discuss it just a little bit more about which way we're gonna go.
On the next business meeting.
Anything else, any others?
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
Fire gun.
Okay, anything else to come before the board?
Motion to go home.
Second.
By the way, a motion to adjourn takes priority over all other business. That's Robert's rules, I'm not making this up. So anytime, anybody who's had enough, you can do that.
And having it in Franklin County DOC.
I just said, I got it.
Well, I warned you all when you came in here, it's gonna be long.
Not only long, that was, Brandon, that was gut wrenching. That's a job street, man.
Too much
Okay.
We purchased.
No, I'm
County and put it under some house. So,
But I'm trying to, my ears on the horse.